Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we will be discussing about solving problems involving direct, inverse, and partitive proportion and differentiating mark on, mark down, and markup. So this is a lesson in our business math in your senior high school subject. So let's get started. Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. So in today's video, we will be discussing about solving problems involving direct, inverse, and partitive proportion. So as you can see on the title that we also have there differentiating mark on, mark down, and mark up that will be discussed on the next video. Okay, so let's start. So we have here lesson 1. That's solving problems involving direct, inverse, and partitive proportion. We have the objectives for knowledge domain. Under the knowledge domain, we have differentiate direct, inverse, and partitive proportion. For the skill domain, you have solve problems involving direct, inverse, and partitive proportion. And for the affective domain, we have appreciate the application of proportions in real life. So these are the set of objectives that you are expected to achieve at the end of this video lesson. Okay, so let's have a recall. We have here a ratio is a comparison of two numbers of two quantities that are expressed in the same unit of measure. It can be written as A is to B, or A is to B, or A over B. The middle one you have there the colon. Okay, so meaning that two quantities are being separated by a colon. We have here a sari-sari store sells the following items: ball pen costs 15 pesos, yellow pad paper 45 pesos, and notebook at 20 pesos. So the ratio of school supplies prices is 15 is to 45 is to 20, or 3 is to 9 is to 4. A proportion is an equation showing two ratios that are equal. It can be written in two ways. Okay, by the way, you might be asking why we kept on discussing ratio and proportion. It is because this is actually the preliminary or the prerequisite skills that you need to, or prerequisite concepts that we need to recall before we're going to discuss partitive proportion later on. Okay, so we have here two equal fractions. You have A over B is equal to C over D, or you can have using a colon, A is to B is equal to C is to D. Since the ratios are equal, we get AD is equal to BC. Okay, if you're going to cross multiply, or you can get the product of the means and the extremes. Okay, let's continue. There are actually kinds of proportions. Now, last time, we only discussed about the two kinds of proportion. We have the direct proportion and the indirect proportion. This time, there is the third kind of proportion. Okay, so let us discuss one by one. So let's recall direct proportion. So the first kind is direct proportion, and the most common one. It is a proportion wherein an increase in one of two values results in an increase in the other, or a decrease in one of two values results in a decrease in the other. For the indirect proportion, it is a proportion wherein an increase in one of two values results in a decrease in the other value, or a decrease in one of two values results in an increase in the other. So the third one is partitive proportion. It is a proportion wherein a whole is divided into parts proportional to the given ratio. Okay, so let's continue. So we have let's have first a pre-test. So multiple choice. It's a multiple choice. You have to answer this one in your activity notebook. Encircle the letter that corresponds to the correct answer. Number 1. 10 columnar books cost 250 pesos. How many columnar books can you buy with 375 pesos? This problem illustrates what kind of proportion? Is it A, direct, B, inverse proportion, C, partitive proportion, D, none of this? Number 2. A bus takes 6 hours to travel to Bacolod City at the rate of 56 kilometers per hour. How many hours will it take the same bus at the rate of 66 kilometers per hour? This problem illustrates what kind of proportion? Is it A, direct proportion, B, inverse proportion, C, partitive proportion, and D, none of this? Okay, number 3. At the price of 3 oranges for 12 pesos and 60 centavos, how many oranges can be bought for 37 pesos and 80 centavos? A, 1, B, 9, C, 19, D, 158. Number 4. If 4 men can dig a pit in 10 days, how many men can dig it in 7 days? A, 10, B, 20, C, 30, D, 40. Number 5. A business return of investment will be allocated on 2 business partners, Flor and Jose, in the ratio of 3:2. If the total income is 2,400,000, how much will Flor receive? A, 480,000, B, 960,000 pesos, C, 1,440,000 pesos, D, 2,400,000 pesos. Okay, so you have to answer that pretest. You have to complete that one. So at this part, we are going to proceed. So when 2 ratios are equal, this forms a proportion. Now in general, when means and the extremes, you have A is to B is equal to C is to D, where your means are B and C, and your extremes are A and D. So you have A over B is equal to C over D, and when you cross multiply, you have A times D is equal to B times C, where A and D are called the extremes, while B and C are the means. Now using principle of proportions, the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. Okay, now find the values of x in the equation. If you have 4 is to 5 is equal to x over is to 20, find the product of the means and the extremes. So you have here 5x is equal to 4 times 20. You have 4 times 20, that's 80. Then divide both sides by 5. Your x is equal to 16. Or using cross multiplication, you have 4 over 5 is equal to x over 20. You have 5x is equal to 80. 80 divided by 5, you have x is equal to 16. Okay, and to sum it up, we have here, the first one is direct proportion. The steps on how to solve if you're dealing with direct proportion. We have step 1, set up the proportion. The order of the second ratio should be in the same order as the first ratio. In fraction form, either both the numerators and both denominators, or the numerator and denominator of each fraction should have the same unit. Step 2. Solve the missing terms. Use the principle that the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes, or cross multiplication process. Okay, now let's proceed to inverse proportion. Step number 1. Set up the proportion. Remember, the relationship is more is to less is equal to more is to less in indirect proportion. Now, the first term of the first ratio corresponds to the second term of the ratio, and the second term of the first ratio corresponds to the first term of the second ratio. Step 2. Solve the missing terms. Use the principle that the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes, or cross multiplication process. Now let us proceed to number 3, or the third kind of proportion. We have the partitive proportion. Step 1. Add the terms in the ratio. Step 2. Divide the total number of units by the terms in the ratio. Step 3. Multiply each term in the ratio by the result in step 2. Okay. So I think those steps are clear, and we had discussed already the direct and indirect proportion. So let's have a post test. And don't worry, I will be giving you another examples of partitive proportion after this post test. So we have for the post test, it's multiple choice and you're going to answer this in your activity notebook, but you have to show your solution. Okay, choose the letter that corresponds to the correct answer. Number 1. The exchange rate of peso to a dollar in 2019 is 51 pesos. How much do you get for $7, $7.5? A, 7.25 pesos. B, 51 pesos and 35 cents. C, 220 pesos and 5 cents or 0.5 cents. D, 382 pesos and 50 cents. Number 2. A baker uses 2,500 grams of flour to make 4 loaves of sliced bread. How many grams of flour is needed to make 5 loaves of bread? A, 20 grams. B, 100 grams. C, 3,125 grams. And D, 2,500 grams. Okay, number 3. It takes 4 seamstresses to sew a gown for 6 hours. How long will it take for 7 seamstresses to do a gown if they work together? A, 1 and 3 over 7. B, 2 and 3 over 7. C, 3 and 3 over 7. D, 4 and 3 over 7. Number 4. Last summer of 2020, Nasty, Joren, and Panfilo sold kites in the ratio of 2:3:4. Together, they sold 36 kites. How many kites did each man sell? A, 8, 12, 16. B, 12, 16, 8. C, 16, 12, 18. D, 12, 8, 16. Number 5. Mr. Mendez donated 60,000 pesos for an upcoming school event. Filipino Club, Social Studies Club, and English Club will share the amount in the ratio of 4:3:3. How much will English Club receive? Is it A, 6,000 pesos, B, 12,000 pesos, C, 18,000 pesos, and D, 24,000 pesos? Okay, so that would be all. You have to write all your answers together with your complete solution following the steps for each number. So the next would be the discussion of the partitive proportion. So I will be giving you more examples. Hello everyone, so this time we will be discussing about partitive proportion. So we will discuss the concept of partitive proportion. Since we are done discussing about the direct and indirect proportion, let's have partitive proportion. Now what is partitive or partitative proportion? So partitative proportion or partitive proportion, if a given whole is to be divided into several parts given a specified ratio, partitative proportion is used. Okay, let's have examples. So for instance, example number 1, we have divide 100 into parts 2:3:5. Again, divide 100 into parts 2:3:5. So what are we going to do is, you have here the solution. The given is 100 into parts 2:3:5. So the solution should be, we have 2 units plus 3 units plus 5 units is equal to 10 units. Okay, but algebraically, we can also solve that one as 2x plus 3x plus 5x equals 10. We can do that too. So I'm just presenting this one. So this presentation could also be used in the elementary level. So therefore, we could get the value of our 1 unit. Let's say 2 plus 3 plus 5, that is actually 10 Therefore, 100 divided by 10, that would be our 1 unit, which is 10. Since our 1 unit is equivalent to 10, therefore, 10 times 2 units, that is 20. 10 times 3 units, that is 30. Then 10 times 5 units, that is 50. So our answers would be 20, 30, and 50. So that is equivalent to the ratio 2 is to 3 is to 5. Okay, so that's example number 1. Let us proceed to another sample problems. Okay, let's have Ruby, Rose, and Anne are business partners. They agreed to divide their profits in the ratio 1 is to 2 is to 3. How much should each receive if the total profit is 6,000 pesos? Okay, so let's start with the given. Given is 6,000 into parts 1 is to 2 is to 3. So we have 1 unit plus 2 units plus 3 units, that is equivalent to 6 units. So the number of units that will be the divisor, the total amount. So 1 unit is equal to 6,000 divided by 6. So 1 unit would be 1,000. Therefore, 1,000 times 1 unit, that is 1,000. 1,000 times 2 units, that is 2,000. 1,000 times 3 units. So the answer would be, since the ratio is 1 is to 2 is to 3, respectively for Ruby, Rose, and Anne. So you have for Ruby, she's going to receive a profit of 1,000. For Rose, will receive a profit of 2,000, and Anne will receive a profit of 3,000. Okay, let us have the third sample problems. We have number 3, divide a 72-meter rope into 3 with a ratio 1 is to 2 is to 5. What is the measure of each rope? Okay, here's the solution. Given a 72-meter rope in the ratio 1 is to 2 is to 5. So the solution, we have 1 unit plus 2 units plus 5 units to get the number of units, which is 8 units all. So 1 unit would be the total length of the rope, which is 72 meters, divided by 8. Then 1 unit is equal to 9. Then therefore, you have 9 times 1 unit is 9. 9 times 2 units is 18. And 9 times 5 units is 45. So the answer would be 9 meters, 18 meters, and 45 meters. Okay, so that is equivalent to the ratio 1 is to 2 is to 5. Okay, next. At this point, you will have an assessment. Okay. So we have here, you are going to write your answer in your business math activity notebook. Number 1. In a class of 40, the ratio of boys to girls is 3 is to 5. How many are girls and how many are boys? Number 2. The ratio of the 3 sides of a triangle is 1 is to 2 is to 3. What are the measurements of each side if the perimeter of the triangle is 120 centimeters? Number 3. The sum of $500 is divided among 3 girls, Liz, Beth, and Tess, in a ratio of 2 is to 3 is to 5. What is the share of each girl? Who gets the biggest share? Number 4. The total weight of Santino, Rico, and Bong is 112 kilograms. Their weights are in the ratio 3 is to 1 is to 4. What is Santino's weight? How much heavier is Bong than Rico? Okay, number 5. A sum of money is to be shared in the ratio 3 is to 5 is to 7. If the smallest share is $9, what are the other 2 shares? How much money is shared? Number 6. Miss Vivian cuts a roll of ribbon into 3 pieces x, y, and z in the ratio 4:2:1. The length of the longest piece is 28 meters. Find the lengths of y and z. Number 7. Ronald draws three lines in different colors, red, yellow, and green. Their lengths are in the ratio 1:3:5. The yellow line is 18 centimeters long. How long is the green line? How long is the red line? Number 8. An 80-meter rope is cut into two pieces given the ratio of 5:15. How long is the shorter rope? How about the longer rope? Next, number 9. Jody filled three containers, A, B, and C, orange juice in the ratio 2:3:4. If the total amount of orange juice is 36 liters, find the capacity of the three containers. Number 10. The ratio of the sides of a triangle is 4:6:8. If the perimeter of the triangle is 90 centimeters, what is the length of each side? Okay, so you have to answer that in your business activity notebook. And before we're going to end this video, let's have a math code. So we have here from Martin Gardner. The quote goes this way: mathematics is not only real, but it is the only reality. Thank you so much, and I hope that you have learned something in today's video lesson. And don't forget to subscribe my channel. Bye!